Welcome to the Team Alberio's IST 456 Security News presentation. This presentation covers the restrictions on Chinese technology put forth by the Obama administration. In March of this year, 2013, a spending bill was passed that would restrict the purchase of IT equipment intended for government use from China, as well as other foreign nations. The creation and subsequent passing of the bill stemmed primarily from fears that foreign-built equipment could be used for cyber spying. These restrictions can be justified when considering that the U.S. government and hundreds of U.S. companies have experienced cyber attacks originating from Chinese IP addresses. In 2005, Time magazine published an article about cyber expert Sean Carpenter, who stealthily watched and traced cyber crimes from the U.S. government sites back to 3 source routers in the Guangdong province of China. One of the more alarming of these attacks occurred in 2009. This attack centered on the U.S. electrical grid, in which malicious software had been installed that was intended to damage a significant piece of the national critical infrastructure. This attack was traced back to Chinese and Russian hackers. In addition to these cyber attacks, Microsoft reported in late 2012 that brand new PCs arriving from China already had malicious software installed on them. The relevancy of this restriction to information security management includes the fact that information technology within the U.S. government and its companies must be closely monitored to protect not only our national security, but also company-specific trade secrets. Over the past decade, there have been numerous cyber attacks on U.S. government sites showing holes in our cyber defense. Attacks on the electrical grid show that foreign nations are willing and able to attack pieces of critical infrastructure. The role of the federal government should be as a leader in the development and implementation of IT security practices. The government should be at the forefront of identifying and classifying cybersecurity threats in order to focus their attention on the highest threat areas. Defending our critical infrastructure from cyber attacks should include voluntary standards for those companies tasked with operating pieces of this infrastructure. Lastly, private sector companies must use federal policies as baselines for their own security policies to ensure that their infrastructure and intellectual property is well protected. Some of the possible positive impacts of these restrictions put forth in the bill include the prevention of spying by foreign governments and companies. Create another layer of security by not allowing attackers to sell the United States technology with malicious software pre-installed. The prevention of corporate espionage from these foreign governments and companies. An increase in sales of IT components by U.S. companies, and ultimately the creation of U.S. jobs to increase the supply of technological goods. Some of the potential negative impacts of these restrictions include strained relations with countries exporting IT products to the U.S. The possibility of similar actions to the U.S. by foreign countries if they decide to restrict U.S. goods and services in retaliation, resulting in the loss of U.S. jobs, a decrease in U.S. sales of IT products overseas, a significant increase in labor costs nationally, the need for government agencies to remove certain IT equipment already in use and purchase replacements, which leads to a large increase in monetary demand on an already stressed national budget. In conclusion, U.S. companies would be wise to follow the Obama administration's initiative when purchasing any new hardware or software from foreign nations, especially those managing critical infrastructure and doing business with the Department of Defense or any other branch of the government. From a diplomatic standpoint, the relationship between the U.S. and China will continue to be strained until China minimizes or eliminates the cyber attacks on our government and critical infrastructure. It is important to remember that China is one of the United States' largest trade partners each and every year. Continuing attacks on U.S.-based business is bad for business for both sides from an economic standpoint. Finally, U.S. companies dealing with Chinese-based companies, or any foreign nation for that matter, would be wise to consider the threats and possible risks associated with the People's Republic of China when creating documents tied to information security management. This concludes Team Alberio's Security News presentation. Thank you.